This is going to be a preview of the adventure in the Wastes of Ur. This is going to be the adventure that will launch soon after, if not as quickly as I can get it out, with the official Rin core rulebook. And it's meant to demonstrate the system, the strength of the system, how I run games as a DM, but also how I design and envision adventures that work well for Rin, how to design them and run them. Obviously, every DM has his own approach and stuff, but it just shows practical implementation of the Rin rules. And this is obviously a big spoiler. This is the adventure that I put on the YouTube site that we ran. Only lasted about 5 sessions. I would say they probably might run a little bit longer for most groups. We went through it pretty quickly. But I'm just going to do this again. This is a rough draft, early draft of it. It'll be polished, but this is going to be the adventure. So we'll go through it. Adventure in the Waste of Ur. Introduction. A perilous 10-day journey across the deadly sands of the Red Desert of Ur with intrigue along the way. Scope and duration. The recommended party size is 2 to 6 player characters, providing for 12 to 24 hours of gameplay. Important notes. Text with gray backgrounds aren't supposed to be read to players. The notation N means a value equal to the number of party members. For instance, for a 4-character party, the notation 3N would mean 12, while N minus 1 would mean 3. This is so that the group can scale. Obviously, if you have 2 players versus 6, you can't have the same monster amounts. It's going to be really challenging or really easy. So if it says N, if you have a 6-person party, you encounter 6. You have 3, you encounter 3, and so forth. Here is the hidden plot that the players definitely should not know. A conspiracy among the fire worshippers, a false hedonistic sect from the Church of Nis, is set to summon the banished Ifrit Sultan Malmud into the city of Enheduanna by means of a ritual known as the Grand Conflagration, in which both the city and cultists will be consumed together to form an abyssal rift through which he may enter again the world of men. Re, the celestial mermaid from the High Temple of Osir in Tasiat, has sensed malevolent sorcery stirring to the south and plans to have herself transported secretly to Enheduanna by caravan on a seemingly mundane mercantile venture, there to thwart whatever evil impends without alerting the cult. For this purpose, the temple has contracted Flavius, the unwitting merchant, to take their secret cargo across the Red Desert with no questions asked. Tasiat, city-state built in a pass along the mountain range separating the land of Nod from the desert of Ur. Built around a massive lake, the party begins its journey there, and the caravan trail winds from Tasiat through the northwestern expanse of the desert to end at Enheduanna at the south. Enheduanna, this is the destination that you'll be going to, the 10-day journey. NPCs, important NPCs, the celestial mermaid, living relic of the High Temple of Osir, the god of water, sea, and mist. She normally resides in Tasiat, but having sensed dire importance in the south, she has secretly undertaken to go there and confront the evil with the aid of hidden allies. It's got to be done in secret so the cult and Malmud don't suspect her coming. Malmud, the Ifrit Sultan, primary villain who began the fire worshippers and plans to execute the Grand Conflagration. His deluded followers mistaken for Nis, the true god of fire. Nis is not there are no evil deities in Rin other than the nameless god. These are all good deities. They're actually angelic powers, kind of like in the Tolkienian setting, but he's convinced them that he's Nis, so they're in a state of delusion, or prelist, as they say. Keen, legendary minstrel and friend of Ree, whom she has enlisted to her aid. Verstagliga, barbarian ally of Keen, aiding him as the muscle. Crusty, old drunk, befriended by Keen. Flavius, hired by Temple to transport secret cargo with no questions asked. Flavius did not know the contents of the wagon, only that he is paid well to deliver it secretly. Rozoon, merchant, aristocrat, and hidden leader of the cult. He awaits in the south. And Keen, Verstagli, and Krusty are some of my favorite characters from Marin that I've actually played personally. And also in D&D I've played them. They're really fun. So I can play them well because I know them very well. Plot and contingencies. This is a deadly pulp fantasy adventure, and it certainly is and it certainly can be. And if you don't approach it right, you can easily get wiped and killed. If a character dies, roll up a new one and integrate him into the adventure as a freed captive or latecomer. Again, this is not proofread. This is a very rough draft. If the party is entirely killed, roll up a new one and integrate it in the adventure by coming upon the caravan shortly after the previous party is slain. Continue to see if the mermaids is discovered. Character knowledge of the Red Desert based on skills like lore and survival. You can know things about the desert. The opening encounter, you just have this crazy old drunk named Krusty who kind of foreshadows what's going on. He says there's a cult, there's evil stirring in the city to the south. Just you could mistake him. He's a fun character. He's goofy, and you could mistake him as a crazy drunk. You could listen to what he says. Just again, kind of a comedic beginning. Rules for traversing the desert, the watches of the night, the pathfinding skill, encounter checks, how to calculate all that. That's the rules are all there. I'm not going to go through them. Here is the map of the caravan trail. You have Enheduanna up here. You have the 10-day journey. Tasiyat up here. The 10-day journey to Enheduanna. 1, 2. You just see how the trail winds through the desert, and then you have the notable locations marked. You have A is the mausoleum. The vaulted mausoleum. 3 is the shrine, the Oasis shrine. B is the golden pyramid. 7 is the Chersagoras hill. And those all get explained as we go on. First night encounter, you have a king comes in and he play on a magic carpet to your campsite and he plays a song and you get drawn into the dream that he describes. And that's how you learn the combat system. It's a pretty fun. I'm not going to go on the details of all these. It's just going to be the basics. But essentially, you wake up from the dream either with treasure, or if you were slain, you don't get the treasure that you saw during the dream. But it teaches the combat system, and you can still die in it without having a consequence. So again, the purpose of this encounter is to have an interesting narrative interaction, which introduces players to the combat system without having any long-term bad consequences if they make mistakes. So you learn the combat system. If you survive, you get treasure. If not, you awaken with nothing in your hands. The treasure was. But if you succeed, you awaken, and one piece of treasure you saw in the dream is actually there. So, kind of a cool little encounter. The Oasis Shrine. On the 3rd day, you will enter the Oasis Shrine. It's a shrine to Osir that is they're trying to establish and consecrate. One of their followers has gone off into the desert on this mad quest, heeding these visions he was told not to heed, and they want you to return it to him so that they can return him. And if he is deceased, at least bring back the holy symbol because they needed to complete the ritual. So there's a shrine that you can loot if you wish to. That's certainly you can do it the evil way. There's little temptations. There's all kinds of cool stuff in there, but that's the Oasis Shrine. The vaulted mausoleum. This is where the Oasis, the follower, the acolyte, ran off to, and there's a little backstory here. It's kind of interesting, but you basically rescue him. There's some undead. There's additional treasure. You can try to pry open one of the sarcophagi that has a monster in it. There's extra treasure in there, but it's quite dangerous, so there's all a little plot there. Chersagoras Hill, you encounter this giant mountain that's like 60 feet long, and it opens its eyes. There's this giant toad called a Chersagoras. He wants you to rescue his brood from a pyramid. He's far too large to enter it. It's a golden pyramid, and he'll reward you. Go to the golden pyramid. They're mummies. They're doing rituals. They're trying to harvest the brood, the pearls, out of this Chersagoras. Trying to harvest his brood, and it's very potentially deadly. If you just run in guns blazing, it's going to be rough. A lot of these are encounters that way, though. But it's got 3 chambers in it. It's a pretty cool encounter. You have lesser mummies and a main mummy and the treasure chamber, and you can choose how you deal with them. Then the random encounter. So the random encounters add a lot of replayability to the adventure because you probably won't encounter all of them. You might encounter probably 6 of them. If you roll a lot, you might get 8 or 9. You'd have to roll really, really high on the random encounter checks. Yeah, so there are 12 of them when they trigger. You have a wind elemental. He wants a game. He offers you a contest, and if you win, he'll give you a file of the elements, which is a powerful magical potion, essentially. Or if you lose, he also 1 piece of knowledge. So he kind of comes into camp at night with whoever's on watch and has an interaction with them. Desert wolves led by a warg. This is where survival skills can come in. It's just an intelligent warg. Wargs are actually have a high intelligence. They're human-like intelligence. They're cunning, and he's leading these desert wolves to attack. So you can use survival in various ways to thwart them. This is where like rangers, barbarians that have the survival skill, the druid, that's where they shine a lot. Sandstorm and scorching heat. There is this sudden storm and heat that starts coming. You have to take shelter, and this rift opens up. This demonic rift. It's kind of it's presaging the rift that's going to open at the end of the adventure. With this is kind of the effect of Malmud on the desert, and also these are kind of things that happen in the Red Desert from time to time. Anyways, it's a pretty nasty place, magical place. So he was able to cause these things to erupt. So these imps start coming out. You can choose steal the rift. You can fight them. If you fail, you can have bad things. A horned demon can come out. So it's just a cool interaction with trying to figure out how to interact with this rift. Black Mist. There are two encounters. The Black Mist of is a famous deadliness. It envelops the group. This is Black Mist rolls in, and then out of the mist, two different times come undead. One time it's more of just a straight forward uh, encounter with this kind of a funny little floating disembodied head that yells at you. Then there's actually an encounter with these. They're like Genghis Khan type. They're called the Golden Horde, but they're undead, and they either challenge you to you either have a riddle game or you have to fight them in one-on-one combat, or you can just turn hostile, which is really hard, but and just try to kill them all. But generally, either one-on-one combat or a riddle game, and if the character loses, they get dragged and they get killed in the contest. They become one of the Golden Horde, and then they ride off. And one of the characters, you have to get a new one because Golden Horde they've been forcefully enlisted. Got cool little role playing counter combat, and all these encounters they're very flexible in how you deal with them. There are multiple ways of solving them. They're all kind of like little mini adventures in themselves. That's how Rin encounters are intended to be. Raided Caravan, you have a clockwork gnome and an animated suit of armor, and they're gleaning the armor is actually guarding the clockwork gnome. It's a collector gnome. They can both actually be reprogrammed to become henchmen. So it's a huge swing in power. If you encounter these early and you have these as your henchmen, you're able to reprogram them. Of course, if you fail, they turn hostile, and things can get nasty. But or you can just leave them alone. But if you have them, they're really powerful. They can get you out of a lot of that. Send them into the pyramid with the mummy; they'll hack them apart and take a lot of hits. So yeah, a lot of opportunities here. How you handle things makes a big difference. Brogs are just big red maroon desert ogres. One of them's eating a bunch of mushrooms compulsively. So if you don't stop him in time, it has an effect on him in the battle. Lupines, these are dog-headed monsters that ambush the party and try to actually take one of them and drag them into the caves, and you have to pursue after them. Green Wyverns. The Green Wyverns are actually probably the simplest. There's an Aurora coming that can affect magic, and then these Green Wyverns come in. They're just simply hunting the party. It's very straightforward. Black Pillar. There's a Black Pillar standing off. It's a black pillar, 400-foot black pillar with a statue with glowing eyes on it. There are gems. You can climb up and take them, but there is a Drowgrasp, a giant undead snake. Underneath it has a nest. You can sneak in and try to get its treasure. It is very deadly. It's one of the deadliest monsters. So, and the characters can know that with like survival checks. How deadly is this thing? It can be slain. It can be killed, but it's a big risk. It has a lot of treasure though. So again, it's that we all got killed because we got greedy with the Drowgrasp. We figured out a way to kill it. I almost wiped out my party in the red. And when we did the adventure, they barely got out because the necromancer hit it with a drain spell that kind of short circuited it, and they dealt with it. But yeah, they almost all died. Boone, the Red Desert Lynx sets a trap for the party. You just see this fish flopping in a apparent pool of water. It's an illusion. Boons have illusion magic. It's the kind of trap that it's like a bait that it would want. So it's using its own primitive mind, its animal-like mind to think that this is what would lure me. So it's luring you with this fish flopping. It's kind of humorous, but it otherwise it just attacks. The little ratling named Chumpo the Magnificent. So he's this little rat man. And he's useful as a thief. He can help disarming traps. You can use him in a bunch of different ways. He does try to pickpocket people. He's kind of a compulsive thief, but he's actually quite useful. You can kill him or do what you want with him. Arriving in Enheduanna. So after the journey, it'll probably actually take more like 14 days because it's assumed you're probably going to want to go off to the mausoleum and off to the pyramid, and that's generally going to add probably some extra days to the journey. It'd be pretty rare for adventurers not to want to do that kind of stuff because treasure awaits. But yeah, so it'll be more like a 2-week journey, actually, maybe even 16 days, depending on how things go. Signs and notes. Arriving in Enheduanna. Once the party enters the city, a series of escalating apocalyptic events will begin, heralding the advent of the Grand Conflagration. Red ash and black smoke billow in from the desert. A sudden sandstorm stirs with laughter in its winds. Large, glowing, burning footprints appear in the streets of the city. The sea begins to churn, fume, and swell. The sun turns dark red and looks like a burning torch as it sets. These events progress as the GM feels appropriate, with one final event beginning after the party has discovered um, the finished ritual at Rosun's estate. The city begins to catch fire with flames that never go out, and cultists begin to spontaneously combust. So wherever you are in that progression, again, there's too many variables to just put them set every day. This happens every so it's up to the GM. But once you discover the real situation, then all these they just all begin to happen. So if you're around number 3, 4, 5, and 6, they just all spring out at once. It becomes very apocalyptic. Arrival in Hejuana. When the wagon arrives, Flavius pays the party and takes the wagon to the temple of Osir. He then leaves the city by boat. The priests of the temple secretly receive the mermaid and place her in the secluded magic fountain there. As the party enters the city, thereabout revelers throng. Many of them are from the cult of Nis and speak of the grand conflagration, which they regard as a prophetic event in which will be unveiled the mysteries of Nis. So all these crazed cultists are talking about how wonderful it's going to be. Around the dock, a festival centered around a circus near the tavern, the Vulgar Nymph, is occurring. The tavern is built aboard an old gilded pirate galleon. All paths lead the party to there. The party does not go there. Krusty finds them and summons them to meet his employers. The city of Enheduanna. Here's some city encounters. I only have 2 thus far. They're not really meant to be a whole lot of them, because things pretty escalate quickly once you get in the city. City of Enheduanna is filled with all manner of merchants and has a district full of many temples and different deities. So there's a party with a were-rat barmaid that she tries to seduce them. Whoever has the highest charisma. My one nephew almost got killed by her, but he managed to take her out. And she kind of takes you off on, under the pretense of and you're kind of kissing and stuff. She transforms. A rat swarm goes. You feel this rat go past your leg, and she transforms. And if you defeat her, though, you do get a random first piece of uncommon treasure, which can be very powerful. There's also an ugly old woman. She's selling magic beans. There is a chance actually one of them is magical. You can figure it out. So that's part of the fun of the magic bean sale. She swears they're magical, or that there's actually a chance that they are magical. Entering the Vulgar Nymph. As the party enters, Keen runs out of the gambling den on the upper deck with a boot and dagger being hurled at him. He swings off a rope, slides down a banister, and runs over to Verstagliga, who is feasting at a table, saying that his pursuers called Verstagliga a pansy. Verstagliga spits out his food, then says they're dead. He then proceeds to dispose of the pursuers. So it's just comical, Keen's kind of playing Verstagliga, saying he's cheating. He was cheating, he got caught, and he told Verstagliga the people chasing him called him a bad word. And you run out there, and Verstagliga makes short work of them, kicks them out of portholes, stuffs them into toilets, that kind of stuff. So Keen, the owner of the tavern, wishes to speak with the party in the lower decks. He meets them below in his private quarters, together with Verstagliga and Krusty. Keen tells them that the cult of fire worshippers are a threat to the city, and all signs lead to the estate of Rosun, the aristocratic merchant. While Keen is organizing preparations against the cult, the party is to infiltrate Rosun's estate and gather evidence, then meet him at the Temple of Osir. So this is, again, you get in, things go pretty quickly. You're probably only going to be in town for a day or 2, maybe 3 most, depending on the party, I guess. Things are going to escalate quickly. You come to Rosun's estate, and basically you find you do find a book that has a banishing ritual in it that will help you later on. So if you find that and figure it out, you can use that in the manor house. So basically, the manor house is full of the grand conflagration. Rosun has immolated himself and all the cultists, this group. They perform this grand ritual. The orchard and warehouse has some residue in it. They were making preparations. So basically you get in there, you're like, uh-oh, it's already gone off. So you return with news to the temple, and they find Ree and Malmud are locked in a violent magical sphere. A battle of holy water and abyssal flame. Verstagliga is straining with his immense strength against a surging blast of abyssal flame that is attempted to dislodge a huge blue spherical gem from its facet at the top of the pillar. It's kind of a ward that's keeping Malmud from breaking through, opening up a giant rift. Keen is bolstering him with the music of his enchanted lyre. Verstagliga instructs the party to close the rifts and bring their gems to him before Malmud breaks through. Keen tosses them a magical amulet that will guide them to the rifts. Again, pretty straightforward, but these guys are Verstagliga and Keen and Ree are locked in this struggle against together. So they're the high level NPCs, can't solve the problem. That's kind of the reason for that, obviously. but it also makes sense narratively. So they're kind of struggling against, to stop that. You guys have to go close the rifts, and the amulet will guide you. Again, it's kind of convenient, but hey, it's what is what is. First rift is opening near the carnival docks. And these rifts, basically, you can make checks. The characters can make checks to affect the rifts. A strength check to try to injure it, devices check to try to devices performance or eldritch lore to try to close it, an absorption or arcane lore and mysticism or theurgy check. And then depending how you roll, it'll affect how the what comes out of the rift, or how in this case it's a Periton, but it what kind of initiative it has. If you roll really high, it comes out at a low initiative, and it's quite a deadly creature. Then you have the market square. There's another rift. There's an old crone is hanging on the edge of the rift that's starting to open. You can rescue her, and she'll give you some aid against them, and then disappear in a puff of smoke. And then, however, depending on how you roll on your checks, devices, absorption, strength, arcane lore, that determines how many waves of abyssal Amazons come out. So these big, beautiful Amazon women, but they've got like red demonic skin. They've got they're just kind of demonized, and if you fail, you get 3 waves, which is very deadly. So it really does matter what you can do to close the rift. Of course, the party could always be more creative, come up with some other way, but in general, if you fail these really badly, you're going to have a really hard time. Sphinx Garden, the third rift, large and ominous, is opening in the Sphinx's Garden. This one you actually have to close your. It's not just defeating the monsters like the first 2. It's so one is the Periton, which is at that level you should be handled. It could be deadly. The Amazons can be pretty deadly. If it's 3 waves, it can be quite deadly. Just depends how you roll. And then the last one is you actually have to attack the rift. It's open enough that you have an Ifrit comes out, not the Ifrit Malmud, but one of his little henchmen, a regular Ifrit, and then an imp comes out every round. But you actually have to just target the rift. And once you do enough damage to the rift, it closes, and the imp scatters, and the Ifrit fades away. So you have to figure out that the rift itself has to be attacked. Then you return to the temple. Once all jewels are given to Verstuglig in the temple, Ree is able to lock Malmud in a final struggle, but needs the party's help to banish him. Each party member may perform 1 action to assist in the banishment, either 1 round of attacks or a single attribute or proficiency check of his choice. The D of each successful attribute or proficiency check is 10, and the damage requirement for the round is 20 or more. Those might be adjusted. I just have to see it with further playtesting. If you have the bad result with less than half n successes, that means the party number. So if you have 6 party members, if you have less than 3, only 2 successes, the temple collapses, dealing 3d8 damage to all therein. Ree is slain, sacrificing herself to prevent Malmud's full manifestation. But he is able to enter partially as a scorching wind that leaves half the city in burnt ruins and covered in sand, then flees into the desert. Though the Grand Conflagration itself is stopped, disaster has still befallen. Each party member gains 100 XP. So this is the bad ending. It's, the city's ruined, half of it's ruined at least, and Ree is dead, and it's the tragic ending. Average with at least half. So again, if you had a 6-person party, 3 or more, or 3 to 5, the temple is shaken. Ree sustains a permanent abyssal wound while banishing Malmud. The apocalyptic signs in the city cease. Any remaining cult members come to their senses, and the Grand Conflagration is stopped. Each party member gains 200 XP. The good ending with n successes. So if you got 6 party members, all 6 succeed. Ree is unharmed and Malmud permanently banished from the world of men. A gentle white cloud with a rainbow settles over the city, healing all wounds, and cool mists bedew the streets. The cultists all come to their senses, and the damage in the city is miraculously restored. The Grand Conflagration, you get 300 XP. During the final act, if a character has succeeded in learning the magic word used in banishing rituals from the tome into Malmud's estate, each character may make 2 checks and keep the higher result. And that would also be their attack, so you get to roll the damage twice. It's like, again, this is a rough draft. There's something. Okay, yeah. So that was the idea that, yeah. So in this, again, this might be tweaked a little bit, but that's pretty much either way. The Grand Conflagration will be stopped. It's just to the degree that it's stopped. And then the adventure after this will be the Sea Voyage adventure. So because of your help with the Temple of Saul, all the way up in Albion, which is all the way on the other side of the world, calls for your aid. And so your party will be sent up on a ship on a sea voyage, and that will be the second, similar to this, but more open-ended sea adventure, which we're actually doing now on the YouTube channel. We're doing the if they or just an early run through of that. It'll be tweaked, I'm sure, a lot. Then we just have the list of NPCs. We have all their stats, and that's pretty much what the adventure will be. It'll probably be, I think this is what, 12 pages. It might be 13, 14, 15. I don't know. I have to. I mean, some of this will be expanded and added, and then I'll have a cover page and a back page and everything. But this is going to be the Waste of Air adventure. It's I've gone through it probably 3 or 4 times with different groups and combinations, and each time we've tweaked it a lot and developed it, and it runs really nicely. A lot of fun, memorable things. And again, when you make these, when I run my own adventures, they're much more open ended. They're much more, but when you're doing it for other people to have to run it, you do have to have some thing driving the narrative. You do have to have some, but I think it's a pretty good. There's a lot of player agency. There's a lot of consequences. There's a lot of, but it's also has a direction that somebody running a game can understand the direction and but not feel railroaded at the same time. And especially replayability is great because of the random encounters. You get a whole different set. I think we probably went through 6 when we went through, maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8. I don't know, but you're going to get different, and in the order that they take matter. If you get this henchman, if you just get the animated suit of armor, it's actually quite powerful. If you reprogram, let's say Machination 6, you got a Hildor Scoundrel, and he reprograms it. I mean, you could take out a lot of stuff with it. It actually explodes. You can get it once it's killed. It explodes in this massive ball of light, and you can send it into to blow up on the mummies. I mean, there's a lot of complexity here. If you actually loot the shrine here versus not looting the shrine, it changes things a lot. And a lot of treasure in there, holy treasure that you could actually use. Even if it's ironic you looted the shrine, but there's a lot of cool stuff. So, anyways, that's the Waste of Air adventure, and it's this is the rough draft. And there it is.